began freeing the nation of the United States of over 327 million people, living in the world's second largest democracy, from globalist tyranny, 48 hours ago he was just joined in this historic effort by new Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro, who likewise is freeing his nation of 211 million people, living in the world's fourth largest democracy, from this socialist communist menace as well. Like President Trump had vowed to the American people before he ascended to power, this report explains that President Bolsonaro vowed to the Brazilian people that if elected, he would govern their nation according to the Bible and his nation's constitution, and who in his acceptance speech delivered upon his victory this last week declared, "We cannot continue flirting with socialism, communism, populism, and leftist extremism. We are going to change the destiny of Brazil." To the new destiny, President Bolsonaro is moving Brazil towards, this report details, in his following exactly in President Trump's footsteps, with Bolsonaro wasting no time in confronting the communist Chinese over their destructive trade policies, his vowing full and total support for Israel, and vowing to close the Palestinian embassy, stating, "You do not negotiate with terrorists." This targeting the leftist globalist propaganda media establishment by calling them the lying press, and his urging his nation's students to begin reporting to the government their leftist teachers trying to indoctrinate them. With President Bolsonaro now joining him in his historic and epic war against socialist communist globalism, this report notes that President Trump remains his nation's only leader in the past nearly 100 years not to have started a new foreign war, with his instead using his country's military forces to protect their own border from invasion. Likewise, President Trump has just fired a shot straight into the heart of these globalist dreams to change America forever by overrunning it with foreigners, by his declaring that he will sign an executive order stating that babies born on U.S. soil without citizen parents will no longer become citizens, called birthright citizenship, and fulfills his vow to the American people that he will govern their nation by the Constitution, and in this case applies to the 14th Amendment that was created in 1866 after the Civil War by President Abraham Lincoln and U.S. Senator Jacob M. Howard, and whose meaning of Senator Howard clearly stated, "Every person born within the limits of the United States and subject to their jurisdiction is by virtue of natural law and national law a citizen of the United States." This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, who belong to the families of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of persons. It settles the great question of citizenship and removes all doubt as to what persons are or are not citizens of the United States. This has been a long and great desideratum in the jurisprudence and legislation of this country, and further confirmed by U.S. Senator Edward Cohen, stating a foreigner in the United States has a right to the protection of the laws, but he is not a citizen in the ordinary acceptance of the word. As to be expected, the leftist mainstream propaganda media establishment in America is pillory against President Trump for his ending birthright citizenship, best exampled by the Washington Post lying to its readers by their claims that the 1898 case of the United States versus Wong Kim Ark gave citizenship rights to babies born of alien parents, but that in fact did no such thing, as this U.S. Supreme Court ruling did not even address the children of illegal aliens and non-immigrant aliens, but rather determined an allegiance for legal immigrant parents based on the meaning of the word domicile. In seeing how blatantly the American people are being lied to by their anti-Trump leftist mainstream propaganda media establishment, It is no wonder that former top President Ronald Reagan's administration official, Paul Craig Roberts, has begun wondering if the Western world is too insane to be worth saving, with his specifically noting last week's leftist media assassination of NBC host Megyn Kelly, who said, "Truly, you do not get in trouble if you are a white person who puts on a black face for Halloween, or a black person who puts on a white face for Halloween. When I was a kid, that was okay as long as you were dressing up like a character. I don't know how that got racist on Halloween," and for which she was promptly publicly humiliated by these leftists and fired by NBC, but none of whose leftist assassins had anything whatsoever to say about black NBC news anchor Lester Holt and black NBC host Hoda Kotb wearing white-face makeup to mock Caucasian peoples, with their further completely ignoring Hillary Clinton's racist joke about blacks, quote, "they all look the same," unquote. Though these insane leftist globalists believe that they're immune from ever having to face the consequences for the rank hypocrisy world they are creating for themselves and expect to soon rule over, this report concludes that they failed to take into account the American people, who aren't as stupid and as ignorant as these leftists believe that they are, and have skyrocketed President Trump's approval rating to 50% just a week before the critical midterm elections, thus leading President Reagan's chief political guru, John Sununu, to proclaim that these leftists will be shocked by Election Day when Republicans win. That's further supported by other political experts in the U.S. predicting that President Trump's massive campaign blitz across America will ensure a Republican win too. And that sees President Trump warning the American people, if you want stocks to fall, vote for Democrats, and whose assessment has been joined by top U.S. economist Stephen Moore, who in agreeing with President Trump said that would happen if Republicans win next week. Quote, "You ain't seen nothing yet. We're going to see a big, big rally," unquote. Thus, President Trump stating to the American people, it's always good to be underestimated.
Well, that was Eric Holder.
Yeah, Eric Holder,
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know they all look alike.
No, they don't. Oh, well done.